So I was going to do a show on the Met Gala, jewelry at the Met Gala, but you know what? I'm not going to do it. It was just boring. It's just the whole thing was boring. The stars were boring. I mean, the best outfit was a furry outfit. I'm not even into furries, and that was the best outfit. This is a show about jewelry, why we wear it, why it matters, how it's made, and what it means. I'm Alex D, and I turn cannabis into gold. I make mind-blowing jewelry in gold, silver, and platinum from cannabis plants here in Canada for stage, screen, for people who want to rock crazy jewelry. I'm the cannabis goldsmith. It just seemed either sad or funny. I don't know. But it wasn't the best place to be showing jewelry, that's for sure. Today is a different topic today. This is a topic so close to my heart. Today I'm going to talk about DJ culture. I'm going to talk about DJ culture. I'm going to talk about DJs and why I think DJs should be wearing more jewelry and what we're doing to make that happen at Tribe. Because not only do we make jewelry cannabis themed around the cannabis culture and the cannabis plant in precious metals, but I also have a soft spot in my heart for DJs because I used to be a DJ in the early 80s, the late 70s and early 80s when the disco era was ending and the house music era was beginning. That's when I was DJing. Playing vinyl back in the day. Now, for those of you younger people listening to this is pre-phone. So everything I'm going to be talking about now is pre-phone, pre-smartphone, pre-internet pretty much, into what we're trying to do here at Tribe for this DJ collection I'm working on and why I'm doing it. But anyway, let me explain what it's like, what it was like for me as a DJ in the early 80s. My mindset was that music was everything in my life. And I had no money, right? I had zero money. I basically lived on the street or on friends' couches. I couch surfed in order to buy records and headphones and eventually turntables and a mixer. And that's a DJ would rather buy records than pay rent. That's the DJ mentality. You know, I've been thinking about DJ so much because I started out as a DJ and then it nearly killed me because DJing is hard. You might think it's all hands in the air shit. You're standing up on stage, you have your hands in the air and 5,000 people are cheering, right? The music's playing by itself somehow magically and you're just there getting all the adoration. That's what it's turned into. But back then, it wasn't that at all. Back then, it was dangerous. Like, it nearly killed me as a DJ working in the early 80s. And I'll explain why. Because when you're a DJ and you're up there, you're sort of a star, and people are giving you shit all the time. Like, in my case, it was like drugs and alcohol and, like, just plying you with shit. It was constant, right? Like, I've known DJs who have died, who have literally died because of the occupation, because they just, they couldn't stop and they didn't have the necessary tools or people near them or facilities or the wherewithal or even the luck to get pulled out of that. It's like a whirlpool, right? It'll draw you in. And if you're addicted, and there's no choice for you, right? Unless you stop. So that's the danger of DJing. And there's also other DJs that are not as dramatic, other things that are not as dramatic, like lugging around vinyl, because back then we used to lug around vinyl and it was all vinyl. There was no digital music. We played records and on turntables. That's what we did. And records, if any of you, I'm sure the people that are listening to this are thinking, you know what, well, vinyl, okay. Vinyl is heavy. If you ever picked up a crate of vinyl, it's like 100 pounds. It feels like 100 pounds. I don't know. Maybe one day I'll weigh a crate of vinyl, or somebody has to see how much it weighs, but it weighs a lot. So you'd have to schlep this to your gigs, right? If you were lucky to work in a super luxe establishment where they had a budget for vinyl and you could buy records for the house or whatever, the house vinyl, which used to happen back then. Like I managed to parlay some expense money to buy vinyl, and for the club I worked at, and it was I rose to the height of the best club in my little town on the East Coast, and I was the resident DJ there. And back then, DJ sets were all night. It wasn't like you come in for an hour or 2 hour and a half or whatever and then blow out of there. No. This was like you show up at 9 and play till closing, which could be like 3 or whatever. And then you go to after parties after, and like you'd be all wound up and after playing for 8 hours, on a Saturday night, and everything would be closed. So this is the danger also, right? So there's lots of dangers with DJing. But let's not get into the dangers. Let's get into the beauties of DJing, shall we? Those of you who have done it, I mean, there's an idea of being a DJ. The DJ is somebody who wants, like in my case, it started off, I wanted to control the music in the space that I was in. Like if I was visiting a friend's house, I would be at their stereo. I would be poking at it. Now, I don't even know if people have stereos anymore. These days, it's like coming from their phone or whatever. It would be like grabbing their phone and then changing their playlists around and playing whatever I thought was better than what they were playing. So this is the DJ mentality. You know it if you're a DJ. You showed up at a friend's house and you'd eventually be by the stereo, like fixing the music, right? Now, when you become a DJ, you get paid to do that. A professional DJ, you get paid to do that. And there's all kinds of different DJs too. There's superstar DJs, like big mega superstars who are just fantastic and amazing. There's technically super terrific DJs, people like David Morales and Danny Tenaglia and Roger Sanchez, kind of level DJs where they're huge names, but they're technically competent as well, right? They're like rock stars, but they're prodigy rock stars too. And then you get the fly-by-night DJs who have like just certain Overton windows of fame, and then they're gone, right? And then there's music genres that come and go. I mean, you get country and western. I worked at a country and western bar when I was a DJ. Like a DJ, believe me, I would play records if I had to in a country and western bar, and I did. And this thing had a bull, I never rode it, but people would ride it. It had a bull. So yeah, I played the country and western stuff that I hated. Sorry, but I just didn't like it. It wasn't my kind of music. But I always tried to squeeze in more of the kind of R&B sounds into it, and I'm happy to hear that that's happening today in the music itself. But back then, I didn't last too long at this country and western bar. But I worked in a variety of places. My favorite places to DJ were after hours or parties, like when you'd get like at the end of a night, you'd show up with your box of records at a place and you'd gig and you'd play. And just because you wanted to, not for money, but because you wanted to play good records. And this wasn't more about taking over the friend's stereo. This was more about showing up and bringing your talent to your friend's house, right? And they understood this too. So, and these were the best kind of parties, these small parties. And they happened all over the world, in people's homes and later in basements and in fields, and it became the rave scene, and it just exploded. And this was like vinyl, right? This was records, 1200s. The turntable that, people think about hip hop, people think, rap artists invented hip hop. No, they didn't. The Technics 1200 turntable invented hip hop. This turntable that was invented by Panasonic, by this company in Japan, and they built it specially for DJs. And this design exists even now. It's like 50 years old, and it's still, the design hasn't changed very much since then. But it allowed DJs to change the pitch of records and to back cue, like scratch and do all kinds of weird shit with to warp the audio coming out of the record player, because they were built like tanks and still are, and they're just like they're the foundation of DJ culture and hip hop culture. These turntables. So I'm looking at these turntables as a jeweler, and I'm thinking, I'm inspired by this. It's like if I look out at say the river outside the St. Lawrence River, it's beautiful and everything, but I don't feel driven to make jewelry from it yet. But for years I've been driven to make jewelry from the Technics 1200 turntable or DJ culture because it's in my blood even now. Yeah, I haven't DJ'd for money and God, since the rave scene, man. That was like in Canada, like the end of the 90s, say, or the early 2000s was the last paid DJ gig I ever had. But at heart, I'm still a DJ, and I understand what it's like to play music for crowds with vinyl in a room. So this is when I talk about DJing today on this podcast, I'm talking about vinyl DJs and the inspiration that's coming to these pieces that we're making from that. And, you know, when the rave scene was huge in Canada, but even before then, I was so into DJing, even though I wasn't really DJing anymore. I started a DJ culture magazine in Canada called Tribe in 1993. And it exists today online, actually, still. And I still own it. It's at tribemagazine.com. It's a giant forum if you want to check it out. It goes all the way back to the beginnings of the electronic music scene in Canada. Have a look. It's pretty deep. I think like 4 million posts or something. Anyway, but I started a magazine to cover DJ culture because, you know, I realized I was getting too old to be a DJ myself, but I still wanted to have my finger in the pie or foot in the water or ear in the headphone kind of thing to still be in the feel it, right? And I feel that vibe of that scene, which is core to my being, right? So I did that, and you know, Tribe is legendary in the Canadian electronic DJ culture music scene. But back to the jewelry stuff. Like I'm looking at these turntables, I'm thinking, okay, how can I've thought deeply for like 2 years about DJ culture and what I could make. So I started making products. I made some rings, some huge, massive rings for DJs to wear. You know, I've started to realize at first that when you're a DJ these days, a lot of it's visual, right? So if you're playing during the pandemic, I noticed this. Lots of DJs, they weren't able to play out. They weren't able to play at gigs because all the gigs were shut, where there were no gigs. So they were playing at home and setting up live feeds and photographing, videotaping themselves playing records. And there's really nothing more boring than watching a DJ play records. But, I mean, what can you do, right? Listening to a DJ play records and dancing to a DJ playing records, that's the thing that most people enjoy, right? So this was a new experience. And I was looking at like DJs, some of my DJs that I'm huge fans of, looking at them and thinking, you know what? This guy should be wearing really cool fucking jewelry, right? What is he doing? He's wearing a black t-shirt, and a baseball hat. What the fuck? Like, let's put a big chain on his wrist. Let's put giant rings on his fingers, but themed around music or DJ culture or house music, or like let's bring jewelry into the DJ domain, right? So I started producing. First off, I produced a ring, a huge silver ring with the strobe dot pattern that's on the side of the Technics 1200 turntable platter. This thing that allows, you can see the little dots on the side of the aluminum platter. What I did was I modeled that and put that into the face of a huge silver ring. So it's all those dots in the front. It looks great too. I thought, wow, a turntable. I can make jewelry inspired by this turntable. So then I started working on other pieces, right? Like I took the strobe dots and I put it on a small ingot, and then we make these things called shoe bars at Tribe, which are like precious metal bling for your sneakers. Like you thread your shoelace through it and it sits on your sneaker. Like if you've ever seen Air Force One badges on the bottom there, but these are bigger and they're made of precious metal, like gold, 18 karat gold or silver or whatever. They're very, very high-end individual pieces, right? So anyway, I thought, okay, let's get the strobe ring and put it on a shoe. So I did that on a sneaker, and it looks great. So I'm thinking, what else can I do? And then I thought turntable weights. Okay, turntable weights. Now, those of you who don't know what turntable weights are, they're a piece of metal, a round piece of metal that fits on top of the record that's on your turntable on the platter. And what it does is it presses the record down flatter onto the platter, because you see vinyl warps sometimes. Vinyl has this tendency, especially if it hasn't been stored upright, it'll bend, and or if you leave a record out in the sun, you'll know what I'm talking about, right? It just warps and bends. And the turntable weight, what the turntable weight does is eliminates these micro bends. When you put a record on your turntable and you drop the turntable weight on it, it makes the record flush with the platter, so the needle tracks it better as it's playing. And the people will say it also eliminates rumble vibrations and stuff like that from the needle going across the record. Now, I started looking at all these turntable weights and thinking, okay, well, I've never used turntable weights myself. I started asking DJs that I knew if they use them or not, and they use them, but DJs don't use them out. Like, they're not these are not objects that would be used on stage at a gig or in a party somewhere, because they're too fiddly, and you don't want to do that when you're rocking vinyl. When you're rocking vinyl, you just don't want to fuck with that shit, right? But at home, a DJ will use these things. They will use them when they're practicing. Like, DJs practice. Good DJs will practice at home. They have tons of records. They have a system set up. They'll play. And I don't know if they call it practice these days. Well, I used to call it practice. I could go home and practice. I just play records and mix and do all kinds of weird shit with records. Nobody there but me, right? And that's when the turntable weight would come into play, because you could like drop it on. Or at home, a DJ with an excellent system at home will use turntable weights, right? So I was thinking, okay, so this is not a mass market item, and it's something that I can make here with our precious metal workshops in Toronto and our design workshops in the Thousand Islands area of Ontario. I'm sure I can come up with something amazing, and we have. And I'm working on it right now to make our first one. And these are going to be ingots. They're turntable ingots, basically. They are the same size as the 45 spindle adapter on the Technics 1200 turntable. And if you think that I'm speaking Pig Latin or some weird kind of language, I'll explain what that is. Like, years ago, there used to be 45 records. These are small 7-inch across vinyl records, and they had a large hole in the center, and you couldn't play them on most turntables, so you would need an adapter, a spindle adapter, and that fits in, so you could play it on your turntable. That's what a spindle adapter is. Now, the Technics 1200 has a little slot in it, in the face of the turntable, in the body of it, where this metal spindle adapter fits in. So what we've done here at Tribe is we've taken the dimensions of the spindle adapter. We've taken it's the same diameter, but we've raised the height of it. So I've made a super thick spindle adapter. It'll still work as a spindle adapter. You can keep it in the slot in your turntable face, where it rises up a little bit higher. It looks very cool, let me tell you. We'll soon be dumping videos of this up on our social media accounts, or I can send you one. If you send me an email, I'll send you a photo and drawings of this, because it's just like crazy. Anyway, it's like a giant spindle adapter, but it's made of sterling silver. And the thing is, sterling silver It's very dense and heavy. The spindle adapter that comes with the Technics 1200 turntable are aluminum. They're very lightweight, but by making them in sterling, I can make them super heavy but still fit in that slot, right? So that's the thinking behind it. That took me, look, I had to do a lot of vaping to come up with that idea, let me tell you. So they're like turntable ingots. I think that's what I'm going to call them by Tribe. Now, these are not mass market products, but they're going to be something that a DJ could keep at home, at his home setup. And they fit neatly in the spindle adapters. And when he's playing records or practicing, he could throw a record on the platter, just reach over and drop this thing on. Even though it doesn't have the diameter of the platter weights that you see on eBay or whatever, these big aluminum ones, it doesn't have to. The only reason those aluminum turntable platter weights are so big is that aluminum has no density. It's so light. They have to make them that big. See, I don't. I work in precious metals. I can make them smaller. And also, these turntable weights are, because it gives us such a great surface, it's like a cylinder. I think of it as a sterling silver solid cylinder ingot, right? And we can brand it with the DJ name on the top, on the sides. We can do all kinds of stuff. We can put art on the sides. I can do deep engravings of like cannabis leaves or mushrooms or whatever. And I can put the DJ's name on the top, right? So that when it's spinning, it's them that's spinning on there. And instead of just some hunk of aluminum that was machined by the millions in China. These are individually handmade and they're made to order. We can adjust the weight too. So if you're looking at, we make these individually. So if you're saying, okay, I want a half-pound silver turntable weight, we can make it. The ones that I'm going to recommend, we're testing the weights right now, but the one I'll put up on our website will be tested with vinyl and work excellently, let me tell you. As a DJ, I'm going to make sure of that. And as a jeweler, the pieces are going to be beautiful, and they'll be something you can keep forever and pass on too, with your DJ name. And just think of all the history that'll have for somebody in the future too, right? So that's what we're doing for DJ culture. It's funny, as a jewelry designer, I'm drawing from my own life, and I think all designers should do this too. I don't want to draw from anyone except from what's happened to me as a person and as a Canadian, and I'm incorporating it into the pieces. Now, granted, like, there are not many DJs who spin vinyl anymore these days, but vinyl's becoming more and more popular. And I think these, for the right person, this turntable weight that we're making here at Tribe is going to, it'll be just right for them. This is not for everybody, but it's for the DJ who wants something that's very, very nice and that looks cool on their decks. So we make them in matching pairs. And we can make them to the whatever weight the DJ wants, but we're going to suggest a weight going in. So how would you order one of these things from us is like, okay, send me an email, alexd@cannabisgoldsmith.com, and we'll talk. And we can talk about how long it will take to make, how we can put your DJ branding on the face of it, how we can make it different for you, for your particular look. I mean, we can blacken the silver and put highlighted designs in it. We can do all kinds of crazy stuff at Tribe. But I think for these, what I envision here is like a silver cylinder with on the top, on the round top face, the DJ's brand, the DJ name in the face. Turntable Ingots by Tribe. Yes, DJ culture. Oh my God. We're working on other stuff too. I'm working on a gem set speed ring. Okay, on these turntables, there's two buttons that adjust the speed. You have 33 and 45. So what I've done is I've modeled the buttons And there's like a little red LED in the button. I'm working on something now where the instead of the LED, this will be cast in gold, and there will be like a red ruby that will fit in that little square slot where the LED would be, and turned into a ring that you can wear. So we're working on that kind of stuff too. Now, I love DJs, and I guess you can tell if you've listened this far into the podcast. So today, what I'm doing, I'm working on the engraving patterns that we can use on the outside of these turntable ingots. We have an industrial laser here at Tribe, and I can deeply etch patterns into the silver with it, or we can cast actual live cannabis leaves into the outside of one of these weights. We can gem set them. We can set them with diamonds, even if it comes to that. But I think let's keep it simple for now. These are going to be amazing. I'm really excited about it. All right, what else are we working on for DJ culture here? Oh, I'm working on a charm for DJ Mark Farina's cat, Egbert. Now, at first I thought I would make a cannabis bud for Egbert because I was going through this cannabis bud stage where I still have Egbert's bud on my workbench, and I'm looking at it. But as a designer, you get interrupted sometimes, and you start other shit, and you get. But as I was thinking about Egbert, I was thinking, no. The bud is the wrong thing for Egbert Farina. The mushroom would be a better charm for Egbert. So I'm going to make Egbert today. In fact, I'm working on a master design of a psilocybin mushroom. I'm carving it in wax for Egbert, and then we're going to cast it in sterling and make a small cat charm for Egbert. Egbert is like he's the cat that shows up in a lot of DJ Mark Farina's videos when he's doing those mushroom jazz things and the defected music stuff on YouTube. You'll see Egbert. He's a cool cat, as is Mark Farina. Anyway, so today I will be working on the Egbert mushroom pendant cat charm. And I'm working on a mushroom ring, too. We'll see if I get to that. But so far, the DJ collection consists of rings. We can make rings with strobe, big, heavy sterling silver rings with the strobe ring modeled into the surface. They look amazing. We can make shoe bars. So if you want like a cool Technics 1200 style strobe dot pattern on an ingot on your sneaker, we can do that. And there's pictures of all this. I'm going to throw them up on the website this week under tribe.ca/DJ, and you'll be able to see pictures of this stuff I'm talking about. Some drawings too. I'm going to start photographing my drawings. I'm avoiding the platforms, so you're going to have to come see us at tribe.ca or send me an email, alexd@cannabisgoldsmith.com, and that way I'll have your email address and we can keep you posted on the cool shit that we're doing here at Tribe. Anyway, that's it for me this week, the Cannabis Goldsmith. Oh yeah, this is let's make amazing products for amazing subcultures. Let's not mass produce them. Let's make them lasting, more creative, better. The Cannabis Goldsmith is produced by Tribe Communications, Inc. in the Thousand Islands area of Ontario, Canada. You can see what we do at tribe.ca. Send us an email, alexd@cannabisgoldsmith.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week on the Cannabis Goldsmith. Remember walking around in at 4 a.m. in these warehouse districts, these abandoned warehouse districts in Toronto, kind of listening for the sound of bass coming from rattling window panes on the side of a warehouse where you'd know that's where the party would be. And since it was like 4 a.m. and there was no other sound, it was pretty easy to identify. And you'd wander around and you get closer and closer, and then you'd hear the panes on the glass rattling from the bass, and this big deep bass, like, and then you'd hear like a voice in the distance, like this rapper going, or this like MC, and all this through concrete and glass in the middle of the night in like Toronto in the dead of winter. And you'd there'd be like a little line up in front of the door, and you'd get into this building, and it would just open up, and there would be people dancing, and no phones, just a dark room with like low lighting, and a thick, just a carpet of people moving together in unison. And the DJ, you could barely see him. The only light would be like from the lights that on the Technics 1200s turntables. Just you'd see lighters. People would be lighting joints or cigarettes. Every so often a lighter would go off, but that would be it, right? And you'd be dancing together.